Joining me right now, longtime friend, and I have to give massive congratulations to. He had to know I was going to play that song, even though it was an older video, just FYI. My friend Roger Stone. Congratulations, Roger, on the
Thank you,
commutation of your
Dana.
sentence.
It's great to be here instead of being in a dank, squalid Georgia prison where the deep state wanted to subject me to COVID-19 virus so that I would die.
Oh yes. Oh yes, they were gonna lock you up, throw away the key, and then expect that the Wuhan coronavirus was gonna do the rest of it. That's exactly what they were gonna do.
Well, this should be said, in despite of all legal precedents in every circuit of the United States, including D.C., in which people like me have gone to court for compassionate release or transfer to home confinement, despite my age and all my medical records, which they have under seal, despite the formal policy of Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons, they definitely were giving me the special treatment you keep hearing the Democrats screaming about. They were trying to send me to a prison where, in the last 2 weeks, they have released a violent sex offender who was also a pedophile and a child pornographer. They have released a violent sex offender who was a multiple serial rapist, and they have released a bank robber, all of them to protect them from COVID virus. So while they were coming out, they wanted to put Roger Stone in.
Yes.
No, this was a deep state death sentence. They don't want my appeal to get to the appeals court because it will expose all of them involved in my trial. It is so thank God Almighty and thank Donald Trump, the President of the United States, who in act of mercy and justice literally just saved my life. It's not just that that he saved me from being unjustly punished for being convicted in an unfair trial, a kangaroo court, a Soviet-style show trial, but he literally just saved my life in a humanitarian act.
Yeah.
So I am most grateful.
And for all of the weeping and gnashing of the teeth that keep acting as though this commutation was so out of the ordinary for the office of the executive, and we were talking about this yesterday, this isn't anywhere even remotely close to what we saw with the previous 8 years of the last administration under former President Obama. But there was no protest over that, though, Roger, which I'm sure you remember.
No, so Obama, he released violent criminals. He released terrorists. So did Bill Clinton, for that matter. No, nobody objected. But Roger Stone, a 67-year-old man, although I am in extraordinary condition,
you look fantastic.
I am the most dangerous man on the face of the earth. That's why they had to send 29 FBI agents carrying assault weapons and in full SWAT gear, including their cool little night goggles, to take me down. I mean, I know this disappoints you, but I don't even have a gun in the house, although I'm a strong believer in the Second Amendment. And they knew I didn't have a valid passport. And they know I'm instantly recognizable thanks to CNN, who just happened to be, coincidentally, just happened to show up 14 minutes before the FBI.
Amazing.
Boy, that is some journalistic hunch right there.
Right.
From the beginning, this whole idea that I have been treated differently is absolutely right. We now know that Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Hillary, Rosenstein, Mueller himself, Strzok, Page, Orr, they all lied to Congress, but they lied about material things, things that matter, things that were covering underlying crimes. I made misstatements to Congress, but they were inconsequential. They didn't hide any underlying crime. They didn't hide any misconduct by anyone. And now here's the newest recycle. Roger Stone was covering up for the president. Roger Stone had knowledge of misconduct by the president, and he traded his silence for a commutation. You heard it here first. That is a lie. When Howard Feynman says that, used to be with Newsweek, it used to be a big deal. Now he's reduced to pushing left-wing conspiracy theories on MSNBC. But when he says it, and the Washington Post will soon echo it, it is a lie. I have never said that. I've never claimed that. They went through every last stitch of evidence that connected to me, my email, my cell phone, my text messages for 3 years, all my paper records. They dragged 19 of my current or former associates in front of the grand jury to badger them, and they found no evidence of that whatsoever. What I said was they pressured me to give false testimony against the president. They pressured me to bear false witness against him. They wanted to compose testimony that I would give that they could use as an article of impeachment.
Right.
And I said, no, that is not the same as some kind of cover-up that I'm being rewarded with. That is false. So you heard it here first.
And they wanted you to be the arrow in their quiver after everything else failed. After everything else, with Strzok, with Page, with Mueller, everyone, after everything else failed, they were going to lean on you to come up, manufacture something, as you said, that they could use as an article of impeachment against the president. And they make it hard on people. I mean, they went after Flynn. They've gone after a lot of people, and you refuse to do this, which is to your credit. So I think you should write a book about this, quite honestly, or at least this should be something.
Believe me, the book is coming.
Oh,
the book is coming.
I can't
I've
wait.
written 5 books, as you know.
Yes.
One of them a New York Times bestseller, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. My most recent book was The Making of the President 2016, in which I analyzed the most improbable upset victory in American political history. That would be Donald Trump's campaign in 2016, which he was the genius behind. I know what it takes to write a book. It's an all-consuming exercise. I'm probably more than halfway through because I've been trying to do it as this epic tale has gone along. But every day there's a new twist and turn. Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman and Rod Rosenstein, that slimy swamp creature. Those guys are all out yesterday trying to recycle. Stone's a Russian agent. Stone was in touch with the Russian intelligence. Those are all lies. They had 3 years to prove it. Now Andrew Weissman, the French poodle, not the pit bull, but the French poodle of the Mueller investigation, he wants to pull me in front of a grand jury. Andrew, you had 3 years to take me to the grand jury. You had nothing. You found nothing. You've got nothing. So enough with your empty threats. There's nothing to learn. I'm hiding nothing. The person who ought to be in front of a grand jury, Dana, is Andrew Weissman.
Yes.
And Robert Mueller and Jeannie Rhee, because they are busted. They were caught in an illegal, seditious coup against the President of the United States. They are traitors, and if John Durham does not bring them to justice, then there's going to be a revolution in this country. People have to believe in the rule of law. All these Democrats like Nadler and Schiff jumping up and down screaming about the rule of law. Where were you when Loretta Lynch was fixing the Hillary Clinton email case on the tarmac in a private plane with Bill Clinton?
Pressuring the DOJ to change language.
You weren't screaming about the rule of law then. Where were you when Eric Holder was stonewalling questions from Congress about Fast and Furious? You weren't screaming about the rule of law then. And most importantly, where were you when Barack Obama and Joe Biden used the full authority and power of the United States government and the amazing surveillance capabilities of our intelligence agents to spy on the Republican candidate for president for strictly political purposes, and then defrauded the FISA court and used fabricated evidence that they knew was fabricated from Hillary Clinton to launch a seditious coup to take down the president? Don't lecture us about the rule of law. You are the criminals.
Boy, there's your book right there. I can't wait to read that. That's absolutely true. And not just undermining the president of the United States, but a free and fair election, the very republic that we have worked so hard to protect. I mean, we are one of the few places in the world that can have this kind of exchange of power every 4 to 8 years. It'll be 8 years, 2024, the next time that happens. But it's amazing the lengths that people went to rob average everyday Americans of our election and then gaslight those same Americans and act like it's this administration that they targeted. I know I was reading Mueller's his op-ed, which I don't think he wrote, just like the report that he didn't write himself. He had no idea what he was testifying about. That was a trip and a half to cover that. What's next for you? What are you, I mean, aside from the book, I know that there have been some kind of whispers about, well, let's try to get him again. Let's try to retry him, which I don't necessarily see coming at all. But what is next for you?
Well, every fuzzy-headed left-wing law professor in the world is out today with their little op-ed explaining about why I can be reinvestigated and dragged in front of the grand jury and why they're certain that I was covering up for Donald Trump, even though there is no evidence whatsoever to prove that. It's not the case. I've never said it was the case. I've never intimated it was the case. The president knows that they pressured me. You know why? Not because I told him, not because I sent somebody to tell him, because he watches television. That's why. And I said it in 100 forums on the record. So it's absurd to say that there was some kind of a deal. There was no deal. I was delivered from my persecutors because I prayed to Jesus Christ Almighty and to God, and because I put myself in the hands of God. And I know that there are leftists out there mocking my reaffirmation of my faith. I don't really care what they say. Howard Feynman of MSNBC the other night laughing about the fact that mocking me for accepting Jesus. I don't question whether he's a devout Jew. Why does he question whether I'm a devout Christian? This is extraordinarily insulting. It's outrageous. I don't know. I got to go get a job. Maybe there's something available for me there at the Dana Show. I could be a grip or a
Yeah,
or a techie or something. I
you're
don't know. I got
welcome
to go
here
find a
anytime.
job
You're welcome here anytime. The sad thing
because
is,
they've ruined me financially. I've lost
yeah,
everything. I've lost my
if you were a
home.
Democrat, you'd
I've
have a
lost most of my
contributorship at
insurance,
CNN.
my savings. It's horrific.
Yeah.
So I hope to be broadcasting, writing again soon. I want to finish this book. I'm going to be out there campaigning for certain Republican candidates that I believe in. I might even take on a campaign or two. I have some experience at it.
A little bit.
But I don't know. I got to pick up the pieces of my life. This is 2 years of being unable to work and almost 2 years of being unable to speak.
Yeah.
See, that's the scariest thing. They not only take away, your home, your savings, your insurance, your ability to make a living, but they take away your voice. That's the worst thing, where they say, "Oh, you can't post on social media because it might taint the jury." Meanwhile, the Washington Post is tainting the jury every single day.
Right.
CNN was tainting the jury pool every single day. It's very hard to wrap your head around.
Very hard indeed. Like I said, if you had been a Democrat, you could go to work at CNN, like some of the witch hunt instigators in the persecution against you, the president, and voters in a free and fair election. Well, you're welcome on the program anytime, Roger. You know that. And anytime that you want to sound off, you are always welcome here. And I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I think that this was well deserved. This whole thing. This should be a non-issue because the investigation was illegitimate to start with. So anything that breaks off from this investigation is equally as illegitimate as well. But I'm pleased, and this was justice actually served. So Roger Stone, I can't wait to read that book, and I know we'll talk with you again before it comes out. But you have to come on and talk about it with us the day that it drops. So I can't wait for that. Roger, where can people find you?
I can't tell you that yet. Right now, those who want to help in my appeal, because I still have to appeal my conviction to clear my name, they can go to stonedefensefund.com. It will be an uphill fight in this circuit, but I intend at least this point to do it. I didn't know until yesterday that even if the court does grant me a new trial, it would be before Judge Jackson. I have to doubt whether I can get a fair trial there, so I got to think long and hard about that. But Dana, I want to thank you because you are one of the handful of conservatives who supported me in this epic fight. Some of our people cut and run. They headed for the high grass. Not Tucker Carlson, not Sean Hannity, not Mark Levin, not you, but not Charlie Kirk, not Ryan Fournier. Those folks like you, they all stuck with me and they fought right to the end for justice. But I want to thank you because you always gave me a forum in this fight when I was able to speak. I will never forget that.
Well, you're a good friend, Roger, and you've done a lot of heavy lifting for the country and a lot that people aren't aware of, and so we thank you for that. And we don't forget that either. Roger, always a pleasure. Roger Stone, ladies and gentlemen.